kill a couple of big bucks. You
Yep.
see like 10, 15 deer days. Like I've had double-digit days in the mountains.
Yep.
It happens, but on average, I don't see a whole lot of deer. And this year was like,
Yeah.
I'd have to add them up, but it might come out to like 0.8 deer a day or something like that. It's like, mentally, like I've been doing this a long time. I'm telling you, man, I was alarm went off at 3:30 in the morning. It was a time change, and like, man, you got a 16-hour day. Time to get up, time to get home. It's like, holy shit.
Welcome back to Hunt the Season. I'm Cody. This episode here, I sat down with one of my top favorite guests to have on the podcast, Ryan Glitsky. Pennsylvania guy. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you know exactly who Ryan Glitsky is. This one was a fun one. We talked about his deer that he shot in our season and the process leading up to that. I know if you listen to a previous one, we talked about changing up, getting more aggressive, going in the cover compared to just sitting those typical rut funnels and just waiting for something to happen, trying to make something happen instead. On this one here, we talk about how he was able to actually make that switch mid-season where, he found himself going in his regular spots of like the rut and, rut funnels and on the edge of thick cover. And then eventually he was like, I gotta, it was slow. I'm sure a lot of us saw that it was kind of a slow rut or a late rut. And I think honestly that I've been seeing a lot of people say this too, that it might be a week or two actually behind with the rut than we normally see. So I'm thinking this rifle season, when a lot of people say like Thanksgiving is like the good time. I'm thinking that might be a really good time. If you can find those doe groups in thick cover, you might have some really good action going on, because I think it was pushed back just a little bit with that drought, with the hot weather, with all that kind of stuff. It was probably pushed back a little bit. Obviously, they were still chasing. There was still breeding going on. But I think it might be pushed back just a little bit of time. And, it's getting cold now. It got really cold now. I actually was up at I took a day trip up to Potter County for the day. Literally, I left the house at 7 p.m., went up there, slept in my truck. Not a good idea. Should have just slept at home from 8 to 1 and left the house and got up there 4:30, the same amount of time when I left the truck anyway. But I got some reassurance, because actually when I went up there, I was able to see the buck that I shot on the hoof. He was with the doe. He was running. He had a little bit of limp to him. His back right leg had a little bit of limp to him, but he was good. He was running. I actually was able to grunt him twice. He stopped twice and looked at me. Both the doe and the buck both looked at me. So that was pretty cool to do that. But they were like 120 yards away. I was trying to get them to come a little closer, like to start making their way up. And then like I would try to sneak behind some trees or do all that kind of stuff. Didn't work out that way at all. But it was a really fun day in the woods. Put a lot of miles on in the one area I want to. Know where I want to go for the last week of rifle up there. I'll be going up with Ethan and his dad. Hopefully my dad will be coming up as well. But as this releases, bear is in. Good luck to all you bear hunters out there. And then this Friday, I will be heading up to deer camp for rifle season. So it's my favorite time of year. I love bow hunting. I really do. I love, the being alone aspect of it in the woods and not really having to worry about that kind of stuff, or like thinking you're alone in the woods. I like that part of it. I like the scenery, like the leaves changing colors, all that kind of stuff. But rifle season, man, it's just something different. It is something 100% different. It's something that's hard to explain. It's tradition. It's something that's passed down from generation to generation. So good luck to everyone going out. Opening weekend of rifle. And it's going to be a good rifle season. I just know it. But if you could, give us a rating review on Apple or Spotify. Every rating review that's given, DM me, and I will send you a decal or 2 decals. Also, I got orange hats made as well with Hunt the Season on it for myself, my dad, my grandfather, Ethan, his dad, and then actually my daughter as well. So that'll be fun. If you actually want one, let me know. I'll reach out to Campco, see what we can do to send you guys one. But good luck this season, guys. Enjoy it. Honestly, we'll just jump right into it because, people already know you. Like, there's no reason really to introduce yourself. Pennsylvania hunter, you're hardcore whitetail. I mean, you go out for bear once in a while, right? Like it's.
You know what? I don't usually in Pennsylvania. Usually I'll, we have that archery season. I'll have one in the pocket. They shortened it back this year to like a week. And the farm I hunt a little bit before I kind of go on my rut vacation. There was corn up this year, and usually there's a lot of bear on the farm. And this year, man, I just never got my tag. And then tagging out here with a buck, it's like I got some vacation to move. I'm moving like that Thanksgiving week, take off going gun. It's like I'm debating still. It's like, I go get a bear tag and just sit up there for a day, but I'll probably hunt till like daybreak till about 1 or 2, and that's me and my bear season.
Yeah.
It's just something it's not for me. I'm a deer hunter,
I like, the only reason I like bear is like it kind of prepares me for rifle. Like it's like that scouting time frame of like I go out for that you used to be, I went out for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we'll come home and everything like that. Yeah. And I would just end up scouting for like the next week because I know I'll go up to camp just to figure out where I'm going to hunt at. And that's really all I did. Like, I don't have any real drive to like get a bear.
Yeah. Yeah. I've killed a few in Canada, killed 3 up there. And it's like, I kind of got my fill for bear, so it's like, it'd be cool to kill one in Pennsylvania, I think, but I just don't have that drive, to go put this time in scouting and doing it. And I'm not one for the drives. I'm too lazy for that shit. I like to sit in a tree, sit in one spot.
There's where I hunt for deer this year. My dad went for bear last year in that location, and the parking lot had like 50 to 80 trucks in it. Oh, and man. He was like, holy crap, like that. And it's like, I talked to one guy out there, like even the drives they put on for deer in this location, it's not one group that puts on a drive. It's like you have multiple groups putting on different drives. Oh man, it's like, oh my god, they get slaughtered in there. Yeah. And there's some monster bear in there. Like, I have a 600-pound bear on camera, and I'm like, holy hell, where he's at, I'm like, how would you get him out of here? Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I was scouting there the other day, and I had a spot like, if I am going to come up here, bear, this would be a pretty good area. It's pretty steep terrain and off a cut. I got back in there, I looked down, I'm like, no way. I don't need a bear that bad. I'm not shooting one back here, because how the hell am I getting out by myself? I'm all I can shoot like a 300-400 pounder or something bigger. And then I got like, how the hell am I getting it out of here? And like, I was like, no, there's a lot easier ways. I got some places a little closer to the old roads and stuff, unmaintained roads, 100 yards off the freaking road. I'll just sit there against a tree maybe the first day or something. That'd be it if I do go.
There's up where my camp used to be in Clinton County. There was an old guy, like the first couple of years I went up there for bear, there was an old guy that would take guys back to pitch a tent back there and camp back there, like a couple miles back in. And he would always have a horse-drawn carriage that he would go back in. So, like, it was this old white horse with it wasn't a full wagon. It only had 2 wheels on it. And he would just literally take this thing back up here, and it was like, and our trucks could barely make it back where
that's wild.
And I was like, that was pretty cool. And then eventually that guy died, so they stopped going back there. But he was, I mean, I don't know if he was a guide service or what, but like, he just every year they would come out with a monster bear too.
Man, damn.
500 pounds plus usually. And
it's a big ass bear.
Yeah, for that location, like it's hard access, steep terrain, rocky, thick cover, and there's no.
Sounds like a good place to kill a buck.
Well, there's I know there's some big ones up there. It's just
that's what I'm thinking.
4 hours one way to get up there, and it's shit. It's quite a haul from where I'm at.
Yeah, good lord.
But it's one of those things. Like, I've thought about this year, even like as we're recording, it's November 13th. It'll drop in like 2 weeks from now. But like, we were just up at Ethan's camp for our ruck camp. Yeah, and I like, there was a monster buck that I saw when I was tracking the one that I'd put a bad shot on, hit him in the hip, and he survived. I tracked him for like 3 miles, and he was just walking nonstop. But there was like a monster 8-point up there, pure white rack, that I saw while I was tracking this guy, and he had Coke can bases on him, and it was just a typical 8-point, just out way past his ears and really high. And I'm like, man, that would be kind of nice to go up there for if it's 4 hours, but I'm like, maybe I should go up there for one day of archery.
Yeah.
But you had in the early season, your son was able to get a buck and your dad was able to get a buck.
Well, yeah, it started out. I mean, we've had a hell of a season. I think it was the first week there. My dad ended up killing, I think it was the first week, or my dad ended up killing a buck one evening. The same evening, my son killed a doe. I was playing guide that night. I just glassed and farm and stuff. And that was an awesome night. My dad was with him, tracked his buck, got his. I went over to my son. His didn't go anywhere, his doe. And that was pretty cool. That was like the highlight of the season right there. I'm like, I don't care what else happens the rest of the season. That was an awesome night, Then a couple weeks went by, and my buddy, he's been having a lot of knee problems. He's kind of handicapped right now, so he was kind of bumming, but he ended up getting a buck. It was I don't know if it was the third week, something like that. He ended up killing a buck on the farm. And then here we're talking, this is what, the 13th, it wasn't last week before. I think it was the 6th. It was my youngst's birthday. My oldest boy, he's 16 now, so he's hunting solo. And my dad had him out on the farm, and he killed a beautiful 10-point. I mean, he texts me because he gets out of school. Time he gets in a tree, it's like 4:05, and it gets dark out. The time change. And he texts me. He said, "Dad," he said, "I didn't even get a foot on the stand, and a big buck chasing doe right underneath me." I said, he's never experienced a rut.
Yeah.
He's usually, he hunts a little bit early season. He killed a buck early last year, his first buck and bow. So he's never experienced a rut yet. And I said, you wait, boys, it's a rut. I said, just sit tight. It wasn't 20 damn minutes. My phone's ringing. I'm thinking, what the hell? And he just jibber jabbered. He said he had it because he's still 16, so he's on a youth license. And he had a 6-point come up. He said he drew back and his peak twisted. He is I bought him a cheap PSE his first year or two.
Yep.
And he said, I drew back. I couldn't see how the damn peak I let down. He said, then this 10-point comes out. He says, big buck comes by. I pulled back and he shot him. He died right there, 15 yards from the stand. It's like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's calling me. He's like, I said, well, how big's big? He says, it's big to me.
Yeah.
He sends me a picture, beautiful 10-point. I was like, he was so tickled. If he didn't have the bug before, he has it now, because he's like, how many doe tags did I get next year, Dad? How am I getting? He's getting into it. So my guess, he's going to be tagging along a good bit scouting this postseason with me. He got the bug. So
do you think do you think he's going to be into the mobile game like you are, kind of, or do you think he's gonna? Yeah,
because next year, me and him talked. I said probably time to upgrade the bow. He's working out part-time stuff, school, working evenings. He's making actually decent money for a kid, especially in the summertime. I said, I think you can buy your own bow. I said, you can upgrade a little bit, because he's getting his buck mounted too. And I was like, you're working. I'll give you a little bit, but you know what I mean? But he's going to upgrade. And I think what I'm going to do is probably get him in a 0.5. I have a bunch of extra sticks, change different models and stuff. So I'll probably give him an extra set of my doubles I have. And I'll probably end up getting him a 0.5 next year, so he can start learning the mobile game. You can start that, because eventually he'll start driving here a couple years. He's going to probably go away for some schooling and that, but get him in the mobile game, get in the mountains, start learning that stuff to really educate him, the woodsmanship stuff. So
from going from a farm where he's hunting to hunting the big woods, do you think he's going to be kind of from seeing it, how it happened this year, right? And the previous year where he got his buck down.
Yeah.
Do you think it's kind of going to be like a shock and awe type effect to him?
I mean, he knows a little bit because of me being his dad. And he'll text me, he's like, what are you saying? I said, I haven't seen none. I go 2-3 days, and I said, I've seen 4 deer. I try to tell him that's how the mountains is sometimes, especially this year. This year was brutal in the rut. It was probably the slowest rut I've had ever, hunting wise, while I've been hunting the rut. And so he knows from hearing from me that it is a long game in the mountains, patience. It sucks a lot of times. It's physically, mentally, just wears on you after a while. But for the quality animals that are there, it's worth putting the time in.
Yeah. I think that's one of the hardest things about hunting the big woods. It's you could be hunting that fresh sign, or hunting what you think is fresh sign, but really it was done yesterday. They were miles away from that area.
Yeah. That's kind of how this year was for me. I mean, like I said, the mountains are tough in general, but this is probably the toughest. I was off for I think my last day with work was, I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head, 26th, 27th, where it is. My days are all screwed up there. But I started hunting, I think it was like that Monday, there was a 27th or 28th. It's kind of like my first official day. And it started out slow. It didn't improve. For 2 weeks I was hunting, it was not improving. I think I averaged right around 2 deer a day. And I went a lot of days, to be honest, that average probably lower because out of the stand, I never saw more than 2 deer. It was like, or actually, I'll take it back. One day I saw 3. One day I saw 3.
Yeah.
But there were days I see 1. I see nothing. I mean, it was some tough hunting these 2 weeks. And you sit up in that stand, especially if you're pulling all daters you're up in that stand. You get up in the morning, time to get home, it's a 16-hour day.
Right.
12 of it, you're in that stand, and you're like, you're doing something wrong. And I don't necessarily think guys are doing something wrong. The spots are probably good when they're supposed to be, but the mountains change all the time. Your acorn, mass crops, cuts, all that stuff. And that one thing going into the season, I told myself was, and I slacked on the last couple of years, I didn't see it in scouting. And that's what put me in the game this year, is just a couple of days taking off, sleeping in a little bit, going out in the timber 4 or 5 hours and going to different spots, reading the sign. Either acorns weren't there, the sign wasn't there. And I just crossed those areas off instead of bouncing around everywhere. And what I did through 2 weeks eventually tightened that noose that got me in a spot where I ended up killing. To be honest, that's what it came down to. With some ass time, of course. And even the spot where I killed, I was in there the first day. I hunted the scrape in there. The scrape I was hunting, I think I gave it like 2 half days. I think it was like a evening and a morning. I only saw 1 deer, if I remember, that evening. The wind was real high winds we had here the last couple of weeks, and winds were swollen real bad. And I got down that second day, half day, I wasn't seeing nothing. I pushed back in the cover a little bit. I was kind of on the edge, so I got a little more aggressive. I ended up sitting in that spot. I think the first day I sat till about 2. We had some heavy rain coming in. Next day I sat dark to dark. Next day was going to be dark to dark, and I was going to do it for the next day and do a half a day. I was going to give that spot like 4 days, basically 5 days.
Okay.
But I was lucky on the third day at 2:00 in the afternoon, he come cruising through and I killed him. That's the only deer I saw that day. It was mentally, I've been doing this for a while, but let me tell you, upstairs, it was, upstairs getting my prayer thing coming up here. Church is chiming in here. Sorry. Do you hear that?
No. I hear it.
The church bells are ringing. But anyway, I was going to grind it out for a few days there, but it just mentally and physically just wears on you when you're not, like, I didn't see any chasing this year. Never. I saw one little buck bumping a doe. Other than that, I saw a couple young bucks cruising. I think it was the night of the time change. I don't know what day it was, November 1st, 2nd, whatever it was.
Yeah, 1st and 2nd.
I hiked way back in there, because after I scouted that Friday and I hiked back to the spot where some sign, I sat dark to dark and I was back airways and I was in a cut. I found this little honey hole in this cut. I saw one doe in the morning. She come up out of the bottom right at daybreak and she's looking behind her, making, all right, here we go. I'm still waiting for something to fall her. It's just not, and I saw it. I had like a 2-year-old 7-point come in. And I was like, man, I just could not get into really anything. It seemed like rut wise. And as I said, I just took days off. I'd hunt a half a day, scout my way in. Like I'd scout my way out. I'd hunt till 11, 12, whatever it was. And I'd take my time coming out of the woods, and I would just veer off a little bit, check some stuff out, and just wasn't seeing the sign a lot of place. Like I said, until I got in this area. And we talked in the past about, like, I've gotten rid of cell cams.
Yep.
And I've talked in the past even getting rid of cameras. But I will say the scrape that I ended up pulling the camera on, I went and checked that scrape. The first week I was off, I hunted on the east side of this bedding area. And I figured I got down. It was going to rain that afternoon, so I got down. But I wanted to scout down towards this scrape. And that scrape was completely cold. So, all right, I didn't bother the camera. Well, then a couple of days rolled by, I went back in that spot. When I got in there in the morning, I got in there in the afternoon, that scrape was blown up. I mean, blown up. I was like, okay, and I had a camera on. Well, I hunted that evening, and I went back the next day, and that's when I ended up getting down early. I'm going over to pull that camera, and I scouted back into the cover a little more. And I think I had 5 shooters in 5 days on that camera. I was like, holy shit. Now, looking back on it, I should have been in there like Halloween 1st, 2nd. That's when they were on the camera. Yeah. And I was like, I think it was like the 4th or something I was in there. So I think what happened, a doe or two must have came in and I kind of missed it. And while I was sitting in that spot, I was kind of thinking about, I'm thinking eventually they're going to leave a doe, look for more, something's going to happen, that one of them or something's going to come through here. And to be honest with you, that ended up some luck here, just being patient. And that's what ended up happening in that situation. But like the cameras, I keep going back and forth to the standard SDs, but like in that situation, I will say it gave me confidence with that intel. That's what it gave me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's a few things I want to touch on there. The scrape that went dry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that a scrape that kind of year after year you found that produces, or?
I found it last postseason, and
Okay.
I was scouting there. It looked really good. The terrain, everything covered, everything lined up. I stuck a camera on that actually in the summertime. I pulled that camera in the summer, and if I recall, I didn't have anything on it. You know, some does, young bucks. I was like, all right, I know how the rut turns. Things can turn around in October and in November. But when I come down there, like I said, in October, and it was still cold, I'm like, man, and it just happened. It just wasn't heated up. And then right after, basically, right a couple of days after I was in there, when it blew up in there, and like I said, my guess, a doe come in that situation. But I didn't have any historical that scrape bear, 3 years of history. This was the first year I had cameras on it.
Okay, yeah, because I had a few scrapes last year that were like used constantly.
Yeah.
This year we're completely dry. Like,
well, I will say that I've been I'm still on vacation.
Yeah.
So I tagged out here beginning of the week. So it's like I've been out scouting, pulling cameras and scouting, make sure guys are in the timber, of course, driving around, and I see the area's clear. I'm scouting my way in, kind of still hunting my way in because I'm gonna see if I see any rut action. I've been pulling cameras, and some of these scrapes that were literally on fire last year are completely covered in leaves. And big thing for me, what I noticed was the acorn mass. We have a ton of oaks up here where I hunt, and usually it's like walking on marbles. That's usually why I always concentrate on the cuts. And this year I noticed it wasn't gypsy moths, it's some type of worm. I was talking to a forester about 2 weeks ago. I ran the game commission. He's a forester, and he said it was I can't remember the name, it's some type of worm, and it just pounded them oak leaves. Because I remember going in the summertime, it was like fall, like now it was like completely, I'm like, that's weird. And it really hurt the acorn crop in a lot of areas. Not a ton of areas, but it was a fraction of these areas that were really good weren't good because there was no acorns. You can see that them deer shifted from that.
I know in where we were hunting for ruck camp, it seemed like there was almost too many acorns, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of like they could go anywhere to them. And like the place I've been hunting the most this year, there was a good amount of acorns. And I'm thinking that there's probably more acorns dropping near their bedding area, so they don't have to go as far.
Like I said, when you're sitting in a stand for 12 hours, and this is from my area, I'm talking just my area. I have a lot of big cuts. I'm not talking 10-acre cut. I'm talking massive cuts, and they butt up to another age class cut. And there's steep terrain. Like a lot of our cuts have oaks in them. You know what I mean? So mass producing oaks, in a cut, a massive cut with a lot of browse and cover. Where do you think the does are at? And where do you think the bucks are? So it made it really tough to where, man, you had to get tight to that cover, get in that cover. Because I hunted even these 2 weeks, I was off. I hunted that traditional rut stuff too. I won't walk away from that stuff, but like in between them travel corridors and funnels, but it was just dead. I had to notice where I had to push to the steep stuff, push to the cover, get in it. And that's when like I said, I didn't see many deer, but when it came to finding the sign, that's where the sign was at. And that's where I started focusing in on.
And that's kind of what the last day of our camp up there, that's kind of like, I scouted an area in like September, and I was like, this is the spot I got to go. Like it was a pinch point that you're not going to necessarily see on the map. It was a straight east facing slope. And then there was laurel right there, that 40 yards between that laurel and that steep drop off. It's like, this is where they would come up. I had a bunch of crews there 2 years ago, and I was like, I got to set up here. I only hunted that one day there, and I was like, I should have been hunting this every single day right here, because I saw a spike come up through above the laurel, like as thermals are rising, kind of, he was coming up right above it. And I was like, it was 11:30. I was like, I'm going to get down and follow where he went, or where he came from, I should say.
Yeah.
So I followed that trail, heavy deer trail going down, and it was like this pocket in between all this thick stuff. So there was a laurel, and then there was a cut down here, pocket right here, and I jumped 2 doe out of it, and I set up right there. Yeah. And I was like, I'm setting up right here. And that's where that 8-point came behind me then. And it was just like, and there was like 4 scrapes in this area. Yeah. And there was feeding sign everywhere in this area. It was, it was just a great area, right? And it's like,
Yeah, that's where you need to spend 3-4 days dark to
yeah,
dark and kill one. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
That was how what ended up happening for me, to be honest with you, is that sign. Basically that last week, after the time change, that Saturday, I slept in that Sunday, take advantage of the time change a little bit. And I remember I went out at like 11 o'clock or something like that, scouted my way back into an area, and it was tore up pretty good.
Mhm.
And basically, I did that last, like, it was like 7 out of the 8 days, because one day I took off for my son's birthday. But like 7 of those out of those 8, I was only in 2 spots. Like, I knew where I needed to be. I had a little camera intel. My scouting told me the sign was there. I knew the bucks were there. The sign was there. I just had to put time in. Even though I wasn't seeing very much.
Mhm.
And talking to a lot of guys, it was kind of a lot of guys weren't seeing very much. It was kind
Mhm.
of a lot of guys was the same stuff, really slow. And that's when I just started putting two and two together. Well, they're in the cover.
Mhm.
They're just not coming out for whatever reason right now, whatever's going on. And that's why I just started focusing on, and like, I just, like, in years past, I'm big on hunting a spot for a few days. And the last couple of years being mobile, you kind of move a little too much. And I was like, nope.
Mhm.
That's why I focused on more in season scouting this year. And then when I felt like I was in it, even though I
Mhm.
wasn't seeing deer, I stuck it out and grinded that out for a few
Mhm.
days to make sure, before I moved.
So with that, getting in that, you said when you harvested this buck, you were in the thick cover, right?
Yeah,
Is
I was kind of.
okay?
It's very hard to explain.
Yeah.
I'm off of I was hunting the end of I would call it a ravine. It kind of rolled a ravine, excuse me. There's kind of a bowl in the bottom. I wouldn't want to call it like a hollow or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the sides are all steep, thick covers, a cut on top of the one. There's a couple of draws that come up out of that ravine. And I was basically hunting on the top of one of those, catching them crossing the top.
Mm-hmm.
What I was doing, or that big scrape was, they were doing a scent check in the top of that ravine because there was all much cover in there. And that's what I was noticing. The few deer I did see, they were coming up and down a couple of those draws or
Mm-hmm.
running the top of that side of that big ravine. And that's how I ended up killing my buck. He was just out, it rained a little bit that day. A couple hours later, he hit that scrape real quick, come right into me. He was just out looking. He was off
Yep.
the doe and out looking is what he was doing. It just, for a rut situation, like the cover around me, there was a cut there. There was actually multiple cuts in around me, probably within a couple hundred yards.
Mm-hmm.
But the area itself, right off that scrape, it got real brushy, like a bunch of briars, and like you're tripping over the shit. What I
Yeah.
was in was just this little opening about maybe 20, 25 yards. It opened up a little bit and got real brushy again.
Yeah.
It just felt like one of them spots. There was multiple trails coming there and stuff like that. It gave me a shot opportunity because there was it was a fairly high stem count, a lot of like pole timber in there and stuff from older cuts and stuff, but where you really couldn't shoot past like 30 yards in places, most of your shots are going to be 20, 25 yards. But everything just kind of opened up that little pocket there I sat in, just to catch them. But like, I felt like there was enough security cover there. The deer would feel secure moving through there in daylight.
So for that type of like situation where like you're getting this thicker, this nastier stuff, are you getting in there dark o'clock, or are you waiting a little bit so you can, like, the gray light where you can see and you're like trying to take your time, be as quiet as possible, and like really sneak in here?
Well, like that situation there, I told you I was hunting just on the outside of that on that scrape. I was like,
Okay.
I think I ranged that scrape like 13, 14 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't, like, the wind was swirling because the high winds. I'm like, I felt like I was cutting 3/4 of this area off. Unless they come from where I came in at, I just wasn't going to get the opportunity I was thinking. So all I did from where I was at, I probably pushed back in, say 60 yards, 70 yards back in that cover. Where I ended up, what I did when I got down that one day, the second time I was in there, I got down midday and I said, I'm going to pull that camera, and I'm going to push back in there, see if there's a better setup. And I just happened to, like I said, I didn't go very far, and it kind of opened up a little pocket. I'm like, and I seen the tree. I was like, I need to be in that tree. And what I did was I backed out of there. And then when I came back, I believe I came in the next day. I come in there dark. I had it pinned. I put the breadcrumb trail down on your OnX or whatever you're using. And to be honest with you, the access was horrible. I mean, it was like one of the ways they're going to come in here. So I'm trying to weave down through the thick shit best I can, not to cross stuff. I'm like, it was aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is the way I came in is the way the buck came into me, and I killed him. It's like, so, it worked out great.
Yeah. So, because like the area I'm thinking about going this Sunday, it's like there's like a micro kind of drainage between two benches, and there's like major crossings right there. There's scrapes, there's rubs, there's bedding below there, there's bedding up
Yeah.
on top. And it's gonna be like getting in there, it's gonna
Yeah.
be terrible getting in there like
Yeah.
in dark. And I'm like, should I wait till like maybe go in there dark, right? Like set up below it and then wait to start moving up anymore in case like maybe if I'm on the way in, maybe I have one I can sneak up on one kind of.
Yeah, like me, like I'm fortunate enough I take 3-4 weeks off.
Yeah.
So I got time. And what a lot of times I'll do, if I don't already have the tree pinned and that access pinned, if I do, I'm going in dark. Because I want to hunt dark to dark. It's just my style. But a lot of times what I do is like that day there, like even when I went in that spot off that scrape, I went in there first day midday, you know, daylight, so I could sneak in there, I could see what the hell I'm doing and get an idea how to access it. And then, like I said, I scouted my way back in there, but I did some other spots. So like when that started that whole week before I killed my buck, that drainage kind of runs down and it runs for hundreds of yards. It kind of peters out, but all of the topography still flows down. And I had another camera down there and I humped the backside of that because there was another cut, some steep terrain. But that day, that was, I told you, I was that time change. I went in that Sunday. Like I said, I left the house like 11 o'clock. So I went in midday. That's what I like to do. If I'm going to an area that I want to scout my way in, I'll go in midday so I can see and I can, put down the tracker on whatever, mapping app, see how I'm getting there so I can get back out. But I like going in there if I can midday. Then I'll set my stand, I'll hunt till dark, and I'll leave my set there. And I'm going to hunt it for 2-3 days now. I'm just going to leave it there. And what I'll do is, like I did this year in the 2 weeks, is, give it a full day or half a day where it is. But that half a day, say I hunt it, like that spot I was hunting, I killed my buck. I was going to give that a couple of days, but like on Tuesday, I was planning on half a day. I'm going to give it till noon. I'm going to break down. Then I'm going to go to that next spot midday so I can see where the hell I'm going and read the situation. I kind of like doing that. Kind of like hunt a couple of days in a row, dark to dark. Then take that half morning, hunt it, and then that half day, if I'm not feeling it, then I'm going to go to the next spot. So I go into daylight. Then I'll keep repeating that process. Give it that evening, give it a day or two. If you're feeling it, I mean, if I'm feeling it, I'm going to ride out 4 or 5 days. I'm going to at least give it a full day, half a day, a full day, then maybe another half a day. If it's dead, then I'm going to keep repeating that process. But I like with my time off, what I learned is I rip down mid-morning, late morning, around lunchtime or something, go scout my way back in for that evening spot and then give it some time and then just keep repeating that process. Basically what I do.
Okay. Yeah. Cause that's kind of what I've been doing this season too. It's like, if I don't see anything in that morning time frame, because when you hunt the mountains, it's like thermals are the major factor, I think, in hunting the mountains. Yeah. Unless it's like wind over 10 miles per hour or whatever.
Yeah. Which we've had for about 2 weeks, I think. It's swirling like a son of a bitch.
That's one thing that I've learned a lot this year is like, you can look at the mapping app or like the weather station, be like, it's a north wind, south wind, east, whatever. And it's like, you go in there, it's like, this isn't what it said at all. Like I'm setting up, the sun comes up and I'm like, this is not what it said. Like,
it was funny because like the spot where I killed my buck, they were calling for, I think it was like a west wind, I'm like, and to be honest, when I set up in there, it was like, I'm hunting this west wind. I'm like, I'm kind of blowing down this ravine, which at first I'm like, it makes sense. I'm like, well, all the bedding's around it. And like, that doesn't make any sense. But what was weird with this spot with the higher winds. And then I was facing when I was at like the ravine is facing out to the east. So when the sun comes up, well, then thermals started hitting that first. And then with the wind was swirling heavy, hell, I was getting a lot of east out of there. So it ended up working in my favor. I was like, so I had to, memorize that because I was getting a lot of like east and it would go kind of south, southwest, but I was okay in there. I was giving up some, but I'm thinking as I sat there, it's like, oh, you dumbass, this is probably what's going to happen. If you hunt on the west, you're probably going to blow it up. But it ended up working out, just the condition. That's just the mountains, you get in spots like it's coming out the complete opposite direction. It just ended up working out in my favor in this situation.
So like, what is the elevation for that area right there? Like, were you up close to the top of a mountain or like, was it like,
I would say, cause the topography is really strange in there. Overall, I'd say if I was going to throw a number out there, that half to upper third, cause if you would see the spot, you'd be like, okay, you get it. Cause it's hard to explain because the drainage is in there, how the ridge systems run. It kind of flattened out where I was at, but there was a ridge behind me. I would say, like I said, at third, maybe towards that half, a little bit of the ridge system in general. Most of the bedding would have been kind of where I was at, a little behind me. A lot was kind of like out from me, same level elevation, then would drop off. Then
Okay.
a lot of it, the cover.
I forget if we ever talked about this or not on all the episodes you've been on for our podcast, but it's like, I know a lot of people say like hunt higher in the mornings, lower in the evenings. Do you follow that, or do you not?
No, I don't follow any of that. No, I'm typically a dark to dark guy. And what I've noticed in the mountains, I mean, a lot of my setups, even that spot I was in, I killed my buck. They can come from anywhere. Yeah. I mean, realistically, they can. Mm-hmm. So I'm playing the odds game. It's almost like I need to be lucky for 20 seconds. I need to have things in my favor. Now, yes, there's situations where maybe you're where the wind and with your thermals, especially your thermals. If they're dumping down into a bedding area, or they're blown into the bedding area, or that high odd spot where I think like, yeah, they're going to cross right here at the top of this draw, and the wind's blowing right there. And the direction I think he's coming, or vice versa. That's where you got to use a little common sense. But a lot of my spots I get into, they're kind of like, well, man, they come from about anywhere. I think this is where it's going to happen, but it could happen back here too. And that's just, I think like me, I have an aggressive mindset. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've seen it play out even areas where like, man, this is flirting here, the devil, and it works out. Is that the right mindset? I don't know, but it's worked for me being aggressive like that. Like I said, you have to have some common sense with it. If your thermals are dropping in the morning right into where you're thinking are coming from in the bedding area, or they're rising into the bedding area, yeah, you got to factor that kind of stuff in. But like I said, the last 2 weeks we've had. I know that last week, while I was leading up to kill my buck, good Lord, the winds. I mean, we had 40-mile plus some days. It was like not fun being in a tree. Actually, one day I got down, like you start hearing limbs crack around. It's like, yeah, probably time to get on the ground.
Yeah.
Sketchy,
Yeah, I was in a tree, and I was like, kept trying to find like the double trunk trees. I was like, I'm going to get a double trunk, really thick tree. Because I bought a 0.5 this year. Yeah. And man, that thing, I'm absolutely in love with that thing. Like that. That's fantastic. Yeah. It grips like nothing else in a tree. Like, I'm blown away by it. Yeah. But like I got in a bunch, like a really thick tree with that thing, and I was like, this is nice. Like I'm leaning back between like two trees right there. I'm like, and they're not moving, but I see all these little trees just swaying back and forth, and this big tree just staying completely still.
Yeah, the tree I killed my buck out the one day. It was super windy, and I'm looking up. You always look up for the widowmakers, and I see a couple of dead limbs up there. I'm like, well, they're not enough to kill me. But I said, my biggest concern is coming down on my bow. That's what I was worried about. I had like probably the worst opening day of rut camp experience. I rode in with my mountain bike, with those like those Gorilla Grip things on my bow. I remember the story you posted.
Yeah, that was absolute shit. That was
ran over your quiver or something.
Yeah, my quiver completely snapped, but my arrows were okay.
Oh man.
On the way in, like I saw a really big 8-point bedded down with a doe, and I'm like, and this buck's like 20 yards from it. I'm like, I stop right there. I'm looking at him with my headlamp on. Like he's far enough away I can't see with my naked eye. So I gotta like pull my binos up to like see what he is, and all I see is this mass, and I'm like, holy crap. So I go away from that. Like that was close to actually where I was turning down to go to my spot. So I stop, I start turning down, and I'm going downhill. I'm like, okay, this is easy now. And once you know, there's like a little fallen tree that was like on this trail, and my front wheel goes over top of it, goes off a little bit, and my bow just like I can see it like in slow motion, just like coming out. I'm like, oh no. And it's like goes down, I hear a snap, and then I run over like the string and one of the cams, and I'm like, I drop my bike, and I'm like, my hunting trip's over. It's over.
That's horrible.
So I pull it back. Everything's good. Like I don't hear anything snap or anything. Put my quiver back on, get to my spot, and Howie messages me and is like, you should find a stump and shoot it if you have a field point with you. I was like, I luckily had a field point, pulled back, shot it, and I was like very little to the right, and I was like, okay, at least like
okay.
A 16-yard shot in front of me, I can at least make. Right?
Yeah.
So that was rough. And then we got back to camp, and I shot it at 30 and 20, and I was like, okay, I'm good now.
You're good. You got the confidence back. Yeah.
So I ended up taping my quiver with duct tape. I was like, man, this is just terrible. What
I
is
can't
going
believe
on?
you didn't kill a good one. That's just how this shit happens. You know what I mean?
That's what Alex texted me. It was like, I think you're gonna kill a good one.
Yeah.
All that stuff. I'm like, I didn't even want to jinx it. I really want to say I think so too. But it was and then I saw spikes for the next 3 days in a row. Just
Yeah.
Alabama 11 points just walking by me. Yeah, that was a rough one. So last episode you were on, we talked about how you're changing up this year to be more aggressive, right?
Yeah.
How did that work out? Because I mean, little previous, you said like you only saw like maybe three deer max like each time. Like, did you notice a difference with the amount of deer you saw, or?
No, not the amount of deer I saw in general. I think, like I said, overall, it just was a very slow rut for my area.
Yeah.
And like a lot of areas that were historically good were not good. I think between like I said, some areas didn't have the acorn crop like they did, even though we still had a fair amount. That aggressive mindset, like I was talking about, getting more in the cover and stuff. Like that first week I was off, I was still hunting a little more of that traditional rut stuff, and it was really slow, and that's what I said. I had that mindset where I think it was that Friday, I believe, the first week I was off, and I was like, I need to go scout. I don't need to get in the same situation it was like last year where I'm just bouncing, not scouting in season scouting. I'm just going off historical, my post-season scouting. And that's what this year I just took a day off and scouted and found the sign. I didn't necessarily put myself in a situation where I was seeing 10 deer a day, which I mean, it sucks. Trust me, you're grinding out, don't see no deer, 1, 2, but the sign was telling me they were there, and I just needed to put time in. And that's when, like the second week I was off there last week, when I still wasn't seeing the deer, you know what I mean, but that little bit in season scout a couple times, yes, pulling a couple cameras saying they're here, here. Right now they're, like I said, started putting two together, and just in my opinion was they're in these cuts. The oaks are dropping heavy. They're in the cuts. They're in the cover, and that's where I just started. Like that second, we got more aggressive, getting into tighter to those areas. Still hunting that like a funnel or something, an edge or something to put things into play, multiple things, but I tightened that up a little bit. And then that second week, like I said, it wasn't necessarily the deer sightings were there, but the confidence was there, to where eventually something's going to walk by here. I think I sat in the stand that one day and I started thinking about the cameras. I'd like, if you dropped a pin within a mile radius, I think I had like 8 solid bucks on camera. That you know what I mean? So it was like, they're here. I just got to be patient. Don't be moving around. Like I said, I'd start tightening that noose down between in-season scout and some camera intel and some ass time. Where I was last week, I said it was only 2. That area actually was just one general area I was hunting, and there was 2 spots I was hunting, and that's just came down to getting lucky one day, just tighten that noose down to where the sign's here, the bucks are here. I just got to put ass time in. Even if I'm not seeing nothing, I just got to be patient. One's going to break off one of them does or be chasing or something eventually.
Yeah. I wondered about that, how it went this year, because I feel like we say all this stuff like, oh, I want to be more aggressive and do all this stuff, like, but it's always like that mental mindset. Like, do you fall back in your old ways, or do you actually because I like you said, like at the very beginning, you were kind of not necessarily falling back in your own ways, but like falling back into like those rut standards that you weren't seeing as much. It's like, okay, I gotta actually do this because like I want to have
100%.
encounter.
Yeah, and that's why I said once I took that Friday off, and I think it was my son's birthday. I was still off, and I thought I was taking a day off because I want to be here in the morning for him in the evening. But during the day, I was out in timber scouting. I was checking things off. Basically, what I ended up doing was checking things off other areas, and it kept bringing me back to this one area. And that's where the sign was. That's where the intel was. Now, as a rut hunter, I know how it works. You got to grind. You got to put time. It's going to suck mentally and physically, but now you got to get up early. You got to put the all-day sits in, make some micro adjustments if you have to. But you're in the area. Now you just go put some time in, and one's going to walk by.
What's those early mornings, especially with I mean, you probably going in pretty far into the woods, and then like I sometimes do 2-3 miles into the woods as well, and with
I
bike
was
riding, it's
300
like,
yards off of I was 300 yards off of unmaintained road. I love it. It was the easiest flip and drag I've ever had in my entire life, and I love it.
see, I've started realizing this, like Lane Hausner, right? I might have to bleep that out actually, so people don't figure that out. But there's he was riding his bike out the one night, and he saw a really nice buck cross literally right in front of him, about
Yeah.
a couple hundred yards away from the main parking area. It's like, I think, we always talk about like how many years ago it was like, oh, the deeper you go, the bigger buck you're going to get, right? I think it's completely shifting. Like deer are scouting us, like we talked about before. Deer scout us just as much as we scout them. They can be anywhere.
Way I look at it this way, you got to scout. The post-season scouting, like I said, if you're run cameras, you got intel, but man, you got to in-season scout.
Yeah.
And they might be 200 yards off that parking lot, or maybe they are 2 miles deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you got to scout. That's why, like I said, this year I made a point, was going to, if I got to take a day off hunting, and that's what I did this year a couple times, even if it was a half a day walking out and taking my time reading the temperature of the timber, seeing what's going on. I made it a point to scout this year. And end of the day, those couple of days of scouting is what killed me a buck. End of the day. I mean, postseason scouting, yes, I had some intel around these areas, postseason scouting, kind of know where I needed probably to set up.
Mm-hmm.
And then that little bit of camera intel, and I didn't see in scouting, the signs here, the bucks are here. And that's what I just, like I said, you just closed in on them, and you just got to put time in then, and like I told you, somebody who saw this spot, you're like, really? I mean, it was like I said, the track or the drag was very easy.
But that's the nice part, right? It's like,
yes, trust me, I was like, this is damn.
Yeah. Did you, when you were in season scouting like that, did you find yourself also like trying to scout where other people are hunting? Like, you find other people's cameras and you're like, okay, you find maybe someone else's pre-hung stand. It's like, okay, now I got to scout off this because this spot's probably overly pressured. So I got to move this way or whatever.
No, I don't let, if the signs are there, the bucks are there, I don't worry about it.
Okay.
I've been hunting public land for all my life pretty much. And it doesn't really bother me. A lot of times with the cameras, and especially cell cameras, I've learned is, if them guys aren't getting pictures, they're not going to be in there. And that's what happens a lot of times. And like, I just ignore the hunter sign. I'm always respectful. If somebody's in around area hunting, of course, I see somebody parked there, and I'm going to assume they're in a certain area. I'm going to go off the next one if they're before me. But other than that pressure does not bother me. And what I've noticed, it does not bother the bucks. Like I said, you get heavy pressure, yes. But most time in the mountains, you get some guys out, but the vastness of it, them bucks really aren't going to change out of their course, Yeah,
you kind of, with those cameras, they find a way around them. Like it's something with, like, I've heard us talk about before, but like trail cameras have only been around for not that long. Like deer are still trying to get used to them, and just as much as like we're using them, right? So it's like they'll see them and they'll adjust to those cameras as much because
especially if you got somebody checking them a lot. I mean, cell cams, do help in that situation, I guess, with the human scent and tracking up an area. But that's like even with my SDs, my plan was check them into the summer for inventory, and I was going to let them soak. But like I said, when I started getting my rut vacation, I was like, it was so slow. I'm like, I'm going to be near the camera. I just pulled the whole camera and went home and checked it. And it's like, that gave me like that intel over the last couple of days. Cause I didn't care what happened beginning of October. I was looking at that last couple of days of October and the first couple of days of November. And it's like, they were there. Like, okay, I didn't care about the cameras anymore. Now it was read the sign and play off the sign and find a setup.
Yeah. Did you have this buck on camera at all?
Yeah, I had him on. Actually, I had him on a camera I pulled. I actually just pulled today and I picked him up. He's probably, I think it was end of October. I got him on a scrape, probably a good mile away. I got him. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So he was definitely cruising that area for a doe then.
Yeah. And that's typically what I said over years. Once I got those multiple bucks on that camera, he wasn't one of them. I shot the smallest one out of all of them, but it's all right.
He's a nice buck. He's a real nice buck.
But it was like, just from that's when it goes back on my ass time history, post-season scouting and everything. And that's what just kind of, I knew what them bucks like to do. And it's like I started putting two and two together with my postseason and the cameras and like that in season. Like, all right, they're here, you know.
Mm-hmm. With because you said you had him on like roughly a mile away.
Mm.
Could you look at that camera where that camera was at and where you were sitting and be like, do you think he took an easy route? Like, was there multiple, like, you know how they talk about like rut funnels and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Like, could you kind of like not necessarily draw a straight line, but like draw like a kind of a route you think he may have took because of the rut funnels?
Yeah, you can kind of tell where he would, a rough. I mean, they do their own thing, of course, but connecting the dots, it makes sense. You know what I mean? From seeing other bucks on camera and stuff like that, picking other bucks up on camera, you understand how they're using topography, how they're using the thick cover to their advantages, and everything else that plays along that. You can connect the dots, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I look at that because like Ethan had a big 8 on camera up north. And that was on November 4th when he was on the other side of the mountain, obviously. And he pulled this camera. I was like, oh man, this is really close to you. But like, and I think that's the one that I saw on the 8th or 9th or something like that. And it's like, I was like, well, it would make sense. It's not that far. Like if he would take this route here, that would be the easiest path that he could take to get to this area.
Yeah, problem with the mountain bucks, big was that's when you just go put time in because you know he went through today. It might be 2 weeks, 3 days, 2 days. That's the thing, and that's why I'm not a guy that's going to focus on one buck on caliber. I'm looking for opportunity, and if it gets me excited, and like I said, that area there had multiple shooters in it. It just one of them things. First one to walk by. Because like I said, they got to make their rounds. They're on a doe. They're chasing. They could be a mile and a half this way, half a mile tomorrow that way. Then they're in your lap. That's where you have to be patient and put that ass time in and give that spot a couple days and let things play out.
Do you for scrapes? Because like the one I saw, he was hitting a scrape. Like, are they? Because everyone keeps saying you shouldn't hunt scrapes right now and all that kind of stuff. It's like, should you still be kind of hunting scrapes, maybe around doe bedding? I think
if it's in around bedding, a thick cover, absolutely. I have no problem with that. If it's an isolated scrape out in the middle of an oak flat, you're not going to see me doing something like that.
Right.
It's going to have to be cover based. To me, I'm hunting cover. I'm hunting that terrain edge, some type of funnel. I'm a bow hunter. I need them to come in the bow range. So topography or habitat or everything together, I need them in bow range. When I'm hunting these areas, I need something, a transition edge in and around that thick cover. If that scrape's there, that's a bonus. I'm not going to give up a spot because they don't have a scrape. And I'm not going to not hunt that spot because that scrape's there because it's not scrape week, which is BS. That buck there, I killed him on November 9th. He come down, he hit that scrape, he hit it real quick, kept on moving, I killed him. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to focus on scrape hunting, but it's a bonus if it's in around that cover. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? It just makes that spot a little better.
I think I'm kind of, right now you're kind of going away from like the whole, because we're getting into rifle season now. Like by the time this comes out, it's going to be getting into rifle season at this point. So, don't hunt those trail scrapes. Like I wouldn't hunt trail scrapes or anything like that, like major trails. I would definitely hunt scrapes still in cover. Like any scrape you find in cover, I would personally want to hunt.
Yeah, like I said, I don't say anymore. It's so cover based for me. I had a good friend just killed one actually today, and he was struggling like me, just struggling. And he told me, I talked to him today. He said, "Man, he said he got down like 10 o'clock. He says I went in it. He said I said to hell with it. He got into thick cover. He's in a tree for a half hour and killed a hog. You know what I mean? It just and he it's just an aggressive. Yeah, it doesn't work all the time, no, but it was just that mindset. Like, and we talked, we knew where they were at. He said, "Screw it." He went in, he killed. And it's just a perfect example of being aggressive.
Do you think it has something to do with the drought we had this year?
Like I said, I'm not a biologist or whatever, forester. I don't know. I would, from as weird as it was this year, I would have to say, like in my area, between the drought and like I said, we had that whatever kind of worm really pounding the oaks up there in areas. I do think then, because these cuts, when they cut them, they leave a lot of the oaks and they're producing because the canopies are more open, stuff like that. And there's damn marbles in there, and I think a lot of that had a lot of traditional areas that had the oaks and stuff where maybe they were transitioning out of that cover a little bit more. And bucks were looking more. I think them does were a little more concentrated in areas, and then bucks were concentrated in more areas. So you really had to get aggressive and go find them in that thick stuff.
Yeah.
At least in my area. I said, I'm talking what's in my area. Maybe up north, you know, much oak stuff like that might be a little different, but my area, it is. They're like walking marbles half the time. But I think it did concentrate them down into certain areas a little bit more this year than normal for me.
I think also in the area that I'm hunting, there's water up on the top and up on down below, down the very bottom, and it's like a lot of the deer are down low because of that water. And there wasn't those seeps on the side of the mountain anymore. Like it was just pure, just water based bedding, food, water. That's what they were doing at that point.
Like I said, when you're getting them out of the big woods, I mean, like so it's not ever always food priority for me. It's always cover based. But I seen in this situation, I actually that day of my son's B-day, that half a day I went in and I went to a whole nother area, and historically it's a really good area. And I go in there was hardly any oaks, and I'm telling you, it was cold as cold could be. I crossed that whole area off, you know, just like that. That situation where there is like, you got to still find them oaks. You still got to find them acorns. You know, you still got to find that primary food source this time of year. And like I said, you get in the cuts, they got it all. And you know, the primary diet's browse. Then you got the acorns on top of that. Then you got cover. You can kind of put it all together and tell you where to be. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure. So we talked about your buck a good amount. So like, was this I forget, was it your second one with the new bow?
I actually I had the Hoyt last year, but I'm sure I went back to the Elite this year. So that is because I killed one in archery this year, a doe. And then I killed that buck, and then I think I killed a buck with that Elite too. I killed. So the Hoyt was giving me a little bit of problems this year, so we broke the Elite back out. I have confidence in that one.
The old gal came back out, huh?
Yeah. The Elite, I actually bought the Elite, and I got that Hoyt when I was part of Whitetail Addiction. And then I shot it last year, and like it was giving me fits this year. I was like, nope. I broke the Elite out. I said that first year I had it, I really liked it, and I went back to the Elite.
What do you think it was? Like what? Just the way it is? Like it's just different than the Elite, or?
I was having I'm not a bow guy. Guys listen to bow guys, but I've heard like sometimes in Hoyts I was having a problem. Like I was, you know, out of adjustments almost, and guys were telling me a lot of times you have to get a shim kit for that and shim them cams, I guess. So that's why I got to do it in the off season, and because I do like having a backup bow for like your situation. So I do want to get it back up and shoot. Now the Lead I'm a little partial to. I like that bow. It's forgiving. You get a little buck fever, stuff like that. It seems to be where you put the pin, it goes. You know, so I'm a little favorite to the Elite right now.
Yeah, I should have brought my dad's old PSC with me.
Yeah.
That thing there is I don't even know that. I think it's from like the 1980s or 90s, something like that. But I mean, it still shoots. It still shoots, man. It's dead nuts. I mean, it's the broadheads are sharp. I know that. I cut my finger open with it, and so I mean, they work. Okay, so that moment he came through, what was like that morning? Walk us through that morning, right before he came through that shot, and then I know you had to go back in there the next day too.
Yeah,
I hear that.
Very unfortunate. I mean, it's part of bow hunting. It's unfortunate part about this. You know, my passion for these whitetails, I love them to death, and I respect them so much. Last thing you want to do is put a bad shot on. And that date there, like I said, I've been grinding out. Everybody knows you're grinding out, not seeing deer. Even though I felt I was in the right spot mentally, physically, it wears you out, you know. And we had that would have been, I shot him on the 9th. We had that cold front coming in Monday and Tuesday, you know. So I was thinking, man, we're going to get that cold snap. Maybe that's what it takes to get these deer moving. Well, that day, I didn't see a damn thing. Day before, I saw, I think it was 2 little bucks. I sat all day. That Saturday, dark to dark. It was like 9:30, and then a few minutes later, 2 little bucks come through. And that was it for the day. So I'm like, oh, man, long day. Back here the next day, and I'm already thinking in my head, I'm going to give this spot a couple of days, do a half-day move, whatever. So I'm sitting there all day. Well, it called for a little bit of rain. It was around like 11 o'clock, and I took my rain jacket. I hate sitting in the rain. But if it was going to rain for a little while, I'm here. I got to start grinding this out, suck it up, buttercup, you know. So it rained a little bit. It didn't rain very long. Took my rain jacket off, threw it underneath my stand, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, holy hell, is this slow? And then, man, I just looked over. It was 2 o'clock. looked over and I saw feet coming down off that ridge. Down off, I think I'm trying to think of how that stand was set up. I think it was off to my right, and that's where that scrape was. And I seen that feet, and I grabbed the bow. I just knew I could see a dark like body. And I thought I seen rack, and all I see him seeing that stopping that scrape real quick, and I could see horns. I'm like, that's a pretty good buck. And then like, it's been a tough season. I'm like, in bird in hand, And man, he come right in. There was kind of two trails kind of split there. He went off the one further away, but he was coming in. I was already full draw. As soon as he broke the cover, coming in that little pocket, I was already full draw. And there was this one little tree there, and I knew about this little tree and these little limbs. And it's one of the ones that like it gets dark, you don't see the little limbs. And I'm telling you what, just stupidity on my part. He come in and he was coming. He was a little bit quartered to a little bit, but not bad. And I put that pin right on that crease, and I totally forgot about that little tree, and I nicked one of them damn limbs. And man, I saw that arrow just kick, and man, I hit him right in the spine. And man, as soon as he hit, he dropped. They let out that grunt. Like, son of a bitch! I reached back, grabbed another arrow, and I seen the back legs go out on him. So I knew I hit him in the spine. And he didn't go very far, a few yards, and he went behind like a cluster of trees and some briars. I'm like, son of a bitch! And I tried to put another arrow. God knows this day where that arrow went. I have no clue. Trying to get another one in. And a lot of guys are like, why didn't you get out and get after him? There's two reasons. First off, I'm in thick cover. And I've been doing this a long time. He wasn't spine shot where all four legs weren't working. He had the ass end down and they can move. Yeah, I can run after him. Man, I just can't do that. He's already having a bad day, and last thing he wants to do is see that predator coming. It's just me. Yeah. If it was a little more open situation, maybe a little different. My mindset was if I got to empty a quiver, try to get another one in him. And what I didn't know is the second shot, I shot and I thought I heard a thump. And I just thought I just completely missed, And he moved around a little more and I couldn't get another shot. And I'm sitting there, he's only, 25, 30 yards away, and it was pretty hard for me because he was there for like 45 minutes. And I'm thinking, man, come on, die. Yeah. And eventually, he actually regained enough composure. The wind kind of swirled in there a little bit. And man, as soon as he caught my wind, that buck, even though his spine, I'm telling you, he got up on all four. He was wiggling jello. He went out a little ways down towards that ditch crossing, and I lost sight of him about 50, 60 yards. I'm like, son of a bitch, I got to get out of here. Of course, he went the way I need to get out of here. So I packed my stuff up, got out, and I started going up the ridge, and I saw him again stand up, and he wasn't moving very far. So I was like, I got to get the hell out of here and just give him the night. And thankfully, it was the right call. Actually, a friend on social media I never met, we just talk. He's like, hey, I'm going to come out, not your spotter or anything like that. I'm cool, and I trust the guy. He come out and help me. I'm telling you what, man, I owe him a lot because just the emotional support, driving in there, you know how it is. And I mean, I felt like shit because I love these animals so much, and stuff happens. You know what I mean? In the moment, the mind goes to shit, and man, I felt bad. I'm like, please, Lord, let him be dead. And it was the quickest track job. We went in there, like I said, he wasn't very far off an old, unmaintained road. We walked down in there and we walked around the last place I saw him, and it snowed that night. Worst conditions for tracking. It was that snow stuck to everything. Yeah. And I was just like, man, if he's not laying here, this is going to be, I'm going to have to get a dog or something like that. It wasn't 5 minutes ago. I hear, Ryan, your deer. I said, huh? Your deer. And is he dead? He's right here. I was below him. It's like, I go up there and I get him, and here what happened was I hit him in the spine. When I shot that second arrow, the first one missed, that second one, here what I did is I went in and up, and that arrow went up through the body cavity, up through the guts, and caught the liver. That's what ended up, thank God that arrow got in him, and he was laying there. He didn't go far from last time I saw him, and he was laying there dead. It was crazy, though. He was still a little warm. He was still limber, so he did die overnight. Yeah. So it was the right call to back out. I understand it's a part of bow hunting, and we all go through it, and I think what tears me up about it is I thank the Lord for the harvest. I just wish it was a quick, clean kill. Unfortunately, in this game, it doesn't always happen. But having to sit there for 45 minutes, that tore me up pretty bad. I posted a video up coming home because I'm pretty, everybody follows me. I'm pretty raw. I'm not going to bullshit. It took me about 6 tries to make that video because I kept breaking down, because it tore me up. I just have so much love for these animals. It's not about killing for me. Yeah, it's why we do it. I love to shoot deer. I shoot a bunch of doe every year, a couple bucks maybe. And I've been forced to kill some good deer, but it's not about that for me. It's just the love and passion I have and the respect I have for these animals. And in that situation, you get that disrespect. I feel he had to suffer for a little while, and that tore me up. That really, really tore me up. To this day, it's still, that's what you don't want to have happen, And I was, at the end of the day, yes, I punched my tag, but wasn't a pretty fairy tale story to get to that point. You know what I mean? That's the ugly side of this. Sometimes that's hard that we got to deal with.
Yeah, I feel that last 2 years. I mean, I've
Yeah.
shot 2 buck and then wounded them. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I hate myself for doing that. To be honest,
Yeah.
like it's something that I hate.
Yeah, if anybody's listening, if you haven't done it, it will happen. I've known for a long time, and it's not the first time that I put a bad shot. It was in that situation where I knew those little limbs were there. It was pretty open, other than it's one of them things it's there. And then when it happens, I just totally blacked out, and I thought I had a clear lane, and I ended up just nicking that, and it just turned to a shit show for a little while. And then, it's something that you learn from. Next time it's like, you know better. You'll learn from. And
I think, this is one thing that I've learned about social media. Instagram, there's a lot more people that are willing to like bring you up, right?
Oh,
and like talk positive and like don't
I
give up, all that kind of stuff.
I had so many. I was countless. I told them I'm not going to bullshit. I try to keep it real. I had so many messages, countless, that evening. Encouragement, saying prayers and stuff, and show me the power of prayer. And man, anybody listening to this, if you're the ones that messaged me and supported me, man, thank you. I can't explain how much that meant to me.
Yeah, and then Facebook is the devil.
That's why I don't go on there. That's why we don't post it on Facebook.
I posted a picture, obviously, of the arrow that broke off, and then the arrow with the field point on it. Yeah. And most people were like, "Well, why are you shooting field points?" I'm like, "Okay, like this is just," and they're like, "Maybe you should go to crossbow and all this kind of stuff." I'm like,
okay, that's why we don't post on Facebook. We just do Instagram. I love the social media is ugly, but there is a good side to it too. And I will say, my Instagram followers and family I have here and friends over there, they are all good. Very, very rare I get a stupid comment on that side.
I'm done posting a lot of things on Facebook. It's like that's just asking for trouble now. It's just the Karens and
you can kill you can kill the next world record. Somebody is going to say something dumb.
Should have gave him another year, right?
I get it out a lot.
Can you imagine what he looked like in a year?
You look at they haven't killed anything over a basket rack 8.
That's my wife said. She was like, a lot of those people probably haven't killed anything, have they?
That's usually what I see when you click on somebody's profile. It's usually what it is. Just a damn asshole out there being a troll.
Yep. So okay. So, I mean, I'm glad you're able to harvest the buck, and it sucked how it happened. Like no one wants that. No one wants to like spine one and have it suffer. Yeah. Like we all want, like you said, quick, ethical.
Yeah,
we want that. Like that's what we want. And to be able to harvest one archery is I think everyone's goal as archery hunter. But rifle season is right around the corner. So like, let's say you had a buck tag in your pocket, right? Where would you try and go? Like, would you still go to that thick cover? Or like, what would your mindset be for hunting? Because like, obviously, there's a lot more pressure in the woods. At this time.
I'm going to try to, just in my head, is where can I get away from the pressure? But that pressure is an advantage to me, if that makes sense. Where is it going to push those deer? Now where maybe I am pushing back in a little further. I'm trying to get back into where either topography is pretty nasty, maybe topography feature, like thinking on top of my head, one area, it's shit. I mean, it is nasty shit. You don't want to kill anything down there, but it's leading into like a thick, nasty cut, steep terrain. Like that's kind of stuff I'm starting to look for to where, maybe not that first day, second day, but you can spend some time in that spot, maybe midweek and kill him. He's been pushed that area. And maybe there's not so much pressure because I've seen rut action even in gun season. I've seen bucks cruising, but it's off the beaten path, or it's where people aren't looking or where they're not at. Maybe they push some of these deer a little bit, but they're not really pressured, that first week maybe. Find those little pockets back in there to where you're away from the pressure, but you're utilizing that pressure where them deer are going. And kind of, like I said, I've seen rut action that first week in situations. I've gotten on camera like, what the hell is he up and out at 11, 12 o'clock? You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe got bumped or something, but, I've had him working a damn scrapes. Like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Or I've actually killed deer like that, on a go or something like that, some crazy situation, you can tell they're not getting pressure from gun. They're just kind of doing their own thing, but you're away from that pressure though,
Yeah,
it's hard to do in Pennsylvania. It is hard because of the drives.
Yep.
You just got to put yourself in a situation where you got to think of security cover, in my opinion, or you're, right in and out of that security cover. You're in that security cover trying to hunt that thick stuff, The
9 point I shot up in Clinton County, Potter County, that he was chasing 2 doe, like literally 2 doe came right underneath my stand, and then he came out 80 yards, and I dropped him in a spot. But so like the tough terrain, like in my mind, what I'm going to try and focus on this year for a rifle is that really steep terrain, because it seems like if you put on OnX, right, and put on that slope angle type thing, you look for that red stuff, red or like orangish type thing, because like
you can get that around, if, like I said, your oaks are still important. Deer are probably going to be in around that area. You got that steep terrain, and if say you got Mount Laurel or greenbriers or a cut in around there too, coming in and out of that area, something like that, that just makes it even better.
Yeah. Now, are you setting up, like, are you going to set up your stand and do that? Or are you just purely just like ground hunting?
I'm typically gun. I'm a ground hunter. I like to be on the ground gun. So if I can make a quick adjustment, if I see something, I can make a move, I can do it. I'm not fixed in the position. Sometimes you can have thicker cover. Yes, you kind of need to be in a stand. You just depends on the situation. But me, typically I'm blessed and I'm only shooting doe in gun season. Last year now I had a tag and I killed one out on the farm. But like I said, I'm usually hunting on the ground typically. Like I said, we're talking here, and what are we, 2 weeks from Thanksgiving and rifle season. Man, I got pocket full of doe tags, and I'm telling you what, for this man right here, I love bow hunting. I love killing a nice buck. Good Lord's blessed me with a bunch of doe this year. I killed a nice buck, but I got a bunch of doe tags. And there's nothing like sitting in the middle of the mountains in the big woods with doe tags, no buck pressure. That buck tags punch. Dude, I take my jet boil, I set my ass down somewhere I can see a little bit, wait for does, sit there and eat, have my coffee, and you just sit back, man, and just love it and take it in. I mean, that is my favorite. I'm off a week for gun. I can't wait. I'm like a kid at Christmas, man. Just for doe. I love it. I can't wait.
There's just something magical about, like, especially you have snow. Like, I think last year last year we did have snow, but it was also 19 degrees outside with the wind chill and everything, like, which was absolutely terrible. But like, there's just something magical, man, about like sitting in the woods, like you said, snow. You're sitting there, you're having your little Debbie or whatever, and you're drinking your coffee, and then you're just sitting there with the gun across your lap or whatever. And
man.
Looking
I got a
out,
little stool I take with me. There's a little stool pack in, and I got my thermos of coffee. I take my jet boil. I got a big bottle, like 32-ounce bottle of water, and I'll have my coffee in the morning, couple snacks, and then like lunchtime, I fire that jet boil up, freeze dried milled. You know what I mean? Another cup of coffee, man. It's just, that's living. Like, so I'm not like, bow only. Man, I have no problem. I love the heritage, whatever the word is there. Excuse me, I'm a meathead, but you know what I mean. And it's just that tradition of it and stuff. The gun season in Pennsylvania, and man, when you're sitting up in there and you got a little snow coming down, maybe it's even a shitty day, it's snowing, and you're in the middle of the mountains, middle of nowhere, and like I said, you don't have that pressure of the buck. You know what I mean? So you could really sit back and enjoy it and reflect on that season, past season, and just, man, I eat that up. I love that time of year. I can't wait. I mean, I cannot wait till rifle opens up. I'll probably hunt first couple days of the farm with the family, kill a couple doe there. Then probably Monday, Tuesday, my ass is going to be up the mountain the rest of the week and just enjoying it, enjoying the season.
Yeah. What's your rifle setup?
Like I actually here, like I told you last couple, we're recording this one on the 13th. I shot that buck on the 9th, recovered him on the 10th, and I didn't do nothing the rest of the 10th. And then it was the last couple of days I've been scouting, pulling up cameras. Like I said, what I do is I'll drive around, make sure nobody's out in the areas, so I don't want to booger anybody up. And I've been pulling cameras, doing a little scouting. Like I said, it's kind of more like a still hunting thing, so I don't want to blow a bunch of shit up. but I've been pinning a couple places for doe.
Yeah.
I have a couple traditional places in the mountains, like one or two really good, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I got 4 good spots for doe. I pinned, and one's a little further, it's like a little over a mile. It's not horrible to drag a doe because I don't pack my drag them. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I still drag them, but a couple of our places aren't that bad. They're basically just, I am still around cover. I
Mm-hmm.
can see a little bit more. There's like maybe a couple of drainages, some ridge points coming down to an area, kind of opens up just a little bit. Because I don't like to shoot far. I
Yep.
like them 50, 60 yards, 70 yards max. I like them close. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I got the scope tool we turned down when they're in the crosshairs. So almost like bow hunting. I pretty much have that mindset. Almost
Yep.
like you're bow hunting, but you got a little extra range, so I can come out of that cover maybe a little bit. But yeah, I said I still like to keep it tight, but I
Mm-hmm.
open up a little bit because I'm carrying the 7mm.
Okay. What grains are you shooting with the 7mm?
I think those are 150. I believe they're
Okay.
the Winchester. They PowerPoint pluses,
Okay.
150 grain. I've been shooting those for however long I can remember. I don't
Yeah.
know how many deer I've killed with that damn thing. That 7mm. But she's a killer.
Yeah.
Let's say
Yeah.
that.
I'm gonna be usually I take a 270 out. I think this year I'm gonna take my grandfather's 30-30 out. So I have to get
Yeah.
that thing sighted in. I've only shot one. I shot my first deer with it, and then when he passed away, I shot a doe with it then.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would really love to, if I sell my buck tag, I would love to shoot a buck with that. At that point,
Cool.
I would not care what size that buck is. Right.
Yeah.
It could be a one-sided 3-point.
The standards, like everybody says, you got a goal, you got to set that goal. Listen, this boy's goalposts move. Like when that buck came in, I was like, I thought it was one of the ones on camera. Then it's like,
Yeah.
of course, I got to see him a little bit. I'm like, that's not one of the bucks. He's
Mhm.
smaller than them ones. But I was like, at that point, I was like, I told you, bird in hand. It's like I like to shoot deer. It's
Yep.
like, yeah, he's a good buck. I was happy with him in mountain buck. But like I said, once you get to rifle scenes, like those standards come down a little bit.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's because there's so much pressure. It's like if you don't shoot him, there's going to be a guy that's down there.
I tell guys, I hold out, I pass up some bucks, but eventually I get itchy trigger finger. At the end of the day, man, I am not. I've killed some good bucks. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not a big buck hunter, man. I'm a deer hunter. At the end of the day, I'm a deer hunter. I love them. I have a passion for them. How much I respect them. But at the end of the day, we like to shoot deer. That's why we do it.
Yep.
So
we like the meat. We like
when the opportunity's there, take it.
Yeah. So we got some a lot of listener questions. So we're going to try and go through them that makes sense.
Okay.
So post rut hunting, where is the go-to?
Boy, I'm not like you're probably starting to get into more gun season there, I guess, or even later. Now I've seen, like, say now we get into post rut, like it's hard in gun because, like I said, you got a lot of pressure. It's really hard to. I'm still going to fall back on that cover and stuff in around that time frame because of gun season. We talked about that. Yep. Now I will say this is we have that 2 week. I think it's like 2 week late archery. I have seen rut activity in that time frame. You either got fawns coming at weight or a doe is cycled in multiple times, hasn't got bred. In my typically I'm done then, but I'm scouting a lot then. So I do see it. That late arch season, it is food based. What I noticed, what I will find a lot of times is areas with those ridges and stuff, still with some, briar, some cover. There's bedding there, but there's food there. And what I find is a lot of times in these areas, the scrapes will light up in those areas because the does are in there, and you'll see that scraping activity pick up. You're going to have to scout. That end of the day, if that post rut you're going to have to scout, find where those scrapes that maybe possibly open back up, find that feed sign, and then hunt accordingly off of that. That would be my opinion with that. That's
what I saw last year too. Is like I saw scrapes firing up in that late season time frame on it was a southeast facing slope.
Yeah.
So they were getting warmth right there.
Yep, that's where I was. Where I have seen it a lot is on your south or east slopes. Not saying that's always that way, but I would say a lot of times that's typically where I see it, where they're starting to get into more of that thermal stuff. You got the food there. You got some browse there. You do have some cover or bedding in around there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those areas, like I said, I'll see scrapes in this area. Like I'll be scouting after Christmas, first part of January. I will see them scrapes like the snow's there and just pour up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've had cameras going in places too, and surprised by the amount of buck activity on those. It seems like everything's, of course, a lot got killed, but everything's kind of isolated. Then you see multiple bucks. Quality depends on what you're after. You know what I mean? If you're just after a buck, you just go scout. And you find that, and it's just same thing. It's like at in-season scouting here during bow. You just got to go find that hot sign and set up accordingly.
Yeah. I would definitely focus. If you find a good feeding sign like that, there's usually going to be some kind of scrape around close to that area in general vicinity.
Yeah. And if you don't, feeding sign in general is going to be, you give it a sit or something and observe, and see what's going on. If you see some scrapes, whatever, that's a bonus. You know what I mean? You just got a playoff situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because that's what I saw that a lot last year too. After I was tug out and I was out scouting, I was like, they were aggressive. Like the one shed I have, like he was chasing away buck from a scrape. Like it was that aggressive.
Yep.
How has Sunday hunting affected your in-season scouting?
For me, I wouldn't really say it affected me much. If I feel like this, so we'll take this year an example where I was trying to get back to more in-season scouting. I don't care if it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't care what day it is. If I feel I need to scout, I'm going to scout.
Yeah.
How I do it is like I'm hunting mountains. It's vast, tens of thousands of acres. I always courtesy drive around. I will drive the parking. Like if I know an area I want to scout, it's Sunday. I don't care what it is. I will do a courtesy drive, make sure nobody's there. If I feel it, then I will go in and scout. So like I said, it all comes out on Sunday. It really hasn't affected me at all.
Yeah. I know for me, like if my wife works that weekend, right?
Yeah.
Sundays, I would usually take my daughter in the woods with me, like walk around and scout. Now it's like, now I can't really do that because I don't want to ruin someone else. Like you said, I don't want to ruin someone else's hunt.
Yeah.
So we'll just go on a bike ride or something like that.
Yeah, I always take a courtesy. It don't matter if it's Sunday or whatever. I'll know an area I want to be, take a ride, nobody's there. Okay, I'm going in. And like I said, I'm not busting through bedding areas, stuff like that. I'm working those edges, trying to put those pieces together.
Yep. We can't complain because we got Sundays now, right?
No, it's awesome for a lot of people like me. I take vacation. It doesn't, like I said, the Sunday doesn't really affect me. But that guy's a weekend warrior. That's a big bonus for them. Big bonus.
Oh yeah. Huge.
Yep.
PA brown tines. Have you been noticing more or less peak archery pressure in the big woods?
There was I think it would have been the first week I was off into time change weekend at November 2nd there. I seen probably that one time, there was like 4 or 5 vehicles out, and I had a pretty big area.
Yeah.
And they were kind of condensed in the area. That was a little more pressure than normal, but then it was gone.
Okay.
It was like I seen it for a few days, it was gone. I would say in general for me, it was pretty well on average, I would say.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Same guy. How do you feel your hybrid hunting went this year with applying for the first time? Like that aggressive mindset we talked about before.
I got a tag punched.
Yeah.
I would say, and being as slow, I said, it was, I never even saw it chase this year, and as slow as it was, and still keeping to that mindset of, because I said that first week, I was kind of more hunting a traditional style, which works. But I was like, man, I'm getting myself digging the same damn hole here.
Right.
And that's why I kind of come on, what you said you were going to do it. You're going to talk it, walk it. And then I think after a while, like I said, it got me in the right situation.
Yeah.
Being aggressive.
Just had to take that switch.
Yeah. And scout, in-season scout, and push to that cover.
Yeah.
Yep.
Matthew Leitner, out of all the spots, and some of these, I don't want you to give away areas because some of them I messaged back. I was like, I'll ask it, but I don't want them to give away areas. Out of all these spots you scouted, how do you pick a spot to all day sit in day after day? That's kind of a tough question to answer, to be honest.
Yeah, that falls back on. There's 2 parts to that. That falls back on my post-season scouting. Then that's where this in-season scouting comes, and a little camera intel. Like I told you, the oaks were a little different in spots this year. Spots were red hot. We're not red hot this year completely. I went to the spot today. It was pouring up last postseason.
Yeah.
Nothing in there, dead. That's because there was no acorns in there. Like I said, that's just eliminating everything these areas scouting in season. That's where, like I said, this year where I made a point to take a day off or half a day walking in and out, coming out midday scouting. That's where really get you in that spot where I got confidence now. Now I'll grind it out in that spot because I know they're there and the sign's here. Now I just got to put time in.
Yep.
You got to cross off that dead. Like I said, you got to take a day, hit this area for an hour or two, hit that, quick in there, get it, check it, get out of there. It's dead. Go to the next. Now, not saying it's not going to heat back up in a week. You just got to factor that all in a little bit in your mindset, in your scouting.
I think also it's kind of like if you start seeing stuff in like the first couple hours you're in there, then it's like, okay, I got to do an all day sit here. Like if you see stuff happening or you see fresh sign, like if you scout that area and then you're like, okay, go back in there, there's new sign in there. It's like, maybe you should then sit up in there. Like it just all depends on the situation. I think.
Yeah, it depends on the situation. I mean, I would say if your gut's telling you to be there, you stick it out. If the intel's telling you to be there, you got to put time in. And that's the trick to the rut.
Yeah.
Once you feel you're in the right area, everything's lining up, all that intel, camera and scouting, post-seed scouting, when all that comes together, you may have to make some micro adjustments, but you want to stick to that area. You might move around because of wind and manipulate the spot, but you're there. Everything's telling you to be there. You got to put that ass time in during the rut, then you have to.
Yep. Alex from Buck Down. How aggressive is too aggressive?
I don't know. I don't know if there's too aggressive, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're too aggressive would be to me, if you're going to hunt a spot, like I said, when you're in the mountains, big woods, the wind likes to swirl. You got to pay attention to thermals. But I think you maybe too aggressive is where you totally don't worry about the wind and thermals, even though, like I said, I will roll the dice. I am aggressive with that. But I said, if it's constantly blowing in the bedding area, if thermals are dumping or dropping to it, that's where maybe like you can be a little too aggressive because you're really starting to cut too much out of that pie there, if that makes sense. That would be where maybe a little too aggressive, where you're totally disregarding the wind and thermals altogether. I mean, I've seen guys do that and kill. I think you can up your odds a little bit if you still, even though you're aggressive and the wind's going to swirl and you're still playing that aggressive mindset, you're giving up a little bit here and there. But when do you give up too much where you're being a little too aggressive?
Yeah, it's like you want to give them the win that they think works for them. But if you actually give them the win that works for them, it's like that's being too aggressive.
Yeah, like I said, that's just a situation where you play, like I said, like if you're going to blow through a bedding area every day, you're going to blow through a feeding area every day, it's probably a little too aggressive. There's a time and a place where, yes, I will push. And like I said, I'm pushing bedding areas, but I'm trying to find them soft spots where I feel I can get in and out and give it 3-4 days,
Yep. Scrape tactics for this time of the rut, which is kind of getting into that, we talked about that a little bit with rifle, like thick cover type scrape.
Yeah, like I said, you get this time, like we're recording this on November 13th.
Yep.
I killed that buck on the 9th. That's past scrape week. He didn't sit there and work it for 30 seconds. He hit it a little quick, ran it, came in, I killed him. Like I told you, I'm not going to be focusing directly on a scrape for that spot. It's a bonus for me if it's there, if I'm in where I want to be. If I feel everything else is lined up for me to get a shot opportunity, terrain, habitat, and all that stuff, I'm in some cover, security cover. That scrape happens to be in the cover, out of the cover, that's a bonus. That just adds, that just makes that place from an A to A plus,
And with you, like with the rifle, like you might be set up further away from that thick cover to be able to see in that thick cover, like depending where you are.
Yeah, it just depends. It's situational. If I can get in the cover and see it and get a visual and get we carrying a rifle, I'm not going to set where I'm going to shoot 20 yards. I mean, if it's a situation, it's a situation, but I'm going to try to reach out a little further. I can find a pocket like that with the rifle, give myself that advantage. You know what I mean? But it could be just catch them coming in and out, or I'm kind of in it and just going to sit there and try to kill one. Rifle's a little different. I'm going to be a little more aggressive with the wind and thermals when I got when I got a rifle in my hand. You know what
Well,
I mean?
because if you think
Whenever his
about
nose sticks up and he smells me, well, he's probably in trouble.
if you think about rifle season, when you're in the woods, like you can play the wind, the thermals, all that kind of stuff, but like the next guy over
Joe Blow down there.
smoking a pack of Camel.
Yeah, like I said, it's all situational,
Yep.
but yeah, you can be the gun season can be a little aggressive there for sure.
Yeah. Landon Garrow 32. How much this season has he spent on his past good rut spots and how much on new areas? So were these new areas this year new?
Let me think real quick here. Everything I sat this year, I never sat before.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that would be off my post-season scouting, some camera intel, and then in season wise. Everywhere I sat this year, the areas where I've never sat before.
Okay,
I didn't go back to anything historical this year. Yeah, nothing.
Wow. All right. Yeah, that's. Is that new for you? Like that's going into
the areas in general, like it's hard. Like the tree, I was like these areas I've been in. But where I was specifically hunting was new, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Is that
like kind of over the years, historical data, ask time, kind of tightening it up, getting in a little better situations. Over the years, based on where I was hunting this year, it's kind of like last year. Bow stayed on the bow hanger for 3 weeks, so I was like, well, something's going to change, and that's why I started tightening the noose a little bit, getting more into that cover stuff like that. I was just hunting more traditional rut funnels, and just wasn't working for me for whatever reason. So I started focusing more on these tighter areas, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So we kind of covered this. He wants a clear understanding of what being aggressive is. This is cleared hot bow hunter.
I mean, aggressive to me is where I'm just not, like I said, we talked about the common sense part of it, the woodsmanship part of it, where you're always factoring the wind and thermals. You're always going to think about your access, but I am aggressive. Like I said, the way I walked in the spot wasn't a greatest access, and he came down the way I came in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just that happens. Like I don't really. Sometimes the access, it is what it is. I try to do my best, but sometimes you just need to get in there. You got to get in the spot and give it time. Like I said, I'm more aggressive now where I push the cover. If the wind and thermals are going to swirl a little bit, I'm going to get busted occasionally. It's going to happen, but I'm in the game. Like I said, you got to focus. You got to think of that woodsmanship part. You got to factor everything in, but sometimes you got to be aggressive and push them areas where you can make blow up a couple of deer, push some deer out, whatever. But like when I go in, I don't care if I bump deer. I honestly don't, because even I jump a buck, going in your head laying, you bust a big buck out of there or whatever. But at 9 o'clock in the morning, that deer comes through there, has no clue you're there. He wasn't there 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. So I don't worry about it. Like that, I killed that deer at 2 p.m. That's how I look at a rut. You don't know when they're going to come by. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I don't really worry about pushing and bumping deer when I'm going in somewhere in the morning. And
also someone did a little study about like they did so when you blow a deer out, I think it was Derek Dixon from the whitetail the drone guy that took the whole year off to scout them with thermal drones. Like if you blow them out 45 minutes later, they're completely calmed down, they're back to normal activity again.
Like I said, when it comes to being aggressive, you just like we said about that too much. Like if you're blowing through the whole bedding area every day, you're blowing through the whole feeding area every day, you're not worrying about your wind's constantly blowing in the bedding area, constantly blowing in that funnel. That's where I think if you want to call that too aggressive, just that's where the woodsmanship's got to come in, where you got to factor that kind of stuff in to put yourself in a little better situation. It's one thing being aggressive. Like I said, the wind swirls in the mountains, the thermals, it happens. But where can you put yourself in a spot where, you're not going to get 100% of that pie plate, but maybe you're getting 70% of it. I kind of like my odds in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one's about rubs, night or daytime rubs by the amount of cover that is near them. Is it then worth hunting around or near those rubs?
If I see, like, I'm not a big, like, it's part of sign rubs. I understand rub lines. I understand rubs around certain areas. If I see rubs transitioning in or around thick bedding cover,
Mm-hmm.
That's got my attention.
Yeah.
That's what's got my attention right there.
Okay. All right.
That's what, like I said, I'm more cover based now, more betting based.
Mm-hmm.
If I can connect, if that helps me connect the puzzle, how they're utilizing that betting area, coming in and out of it, that's where I'm going to use that intel to put me in the right stand location.
So I'm thinking of an area in my head right now that actually Ethan and I call the cul-de-sac. It has like last year during Rock Camp, I went up there, rubs, white rubs. It's like new rubs, big trees. This year I go up there once again, same thing. So I found the bed right where he's bedding right in this openness, but it's you only have really one way you can access to get up here. You take an old logging road up, you get up there, but then all these rubs are kind of going down this hill to like a bench system going down to a road. And then we have intel from someone up there telling us that there's a big 10-point crossing the road at noon every day to go to the other side. So it's like, is that something you're looking at? Like if you would see that those rubs on top where that bed was, and then you see those rubs going down to that bench, and then it just, you can look on OnX or Spartan Forge or whatever you're using. It's like, okay, you can kind of see like this is the route they travel. Yeah.
Like it was a perfect example here this week. Like I said, I was driving an unmaintained road, and I've been up and down this road the last couple of weeks, and I was course scouting these last couple of days after I tagged my buck, and this one side, I mean, if there wasn't 24 plus rubs, fresh rub, I'm like, holy shit. Well, then you connect the dots. I look like it's right off a cut, coming out of a cut, not far off. It's like, you use that, even if it's back in the timberland, it's like connect those dots. Where's it coming and going? And for me, it's like, well, there's the bedding. And then you just start to tighten that, use that information to tighten that noose down to put you in the right spot with them rubs and something, even scrape line. Yeah. Just use that to put you right, to either take it forward or take it back, know. And me, I'm going to the cover. That's just what I'm doing, because I don't care that sign's from 12 noon or 12 at night. It's there. What's it telling me? And I'm trying to connect the dots. Like, where's he coming and going? And like I said, I am going to figure out where that bedding area is, and I'm going to figure it out, and that's where I'm going to go and try to kill him.
Yeah, because I feel like this spot here, it's like, I feel like at nighttime he beds up on top right there because it's wide open. Like he doesn't feel pressured then, right?
Yeah.
I feel like deer are smart and like they know when hunting pressure starts picking up because one, the DCNR started driving back this road, and then it's also a handicap access. So like if handicap people have access to the gate, they can go in here and they can drive up to where this cul-de-sac is.
Yeah.
And once he starts seeing people do that, it's like then he'll start probably just going down to this bench system. Yeah, and just watching every single truck drive by on this road, I'm good. Like as long as I just skirt, they only have one way to get in here.
Yeah, like I said, rub is just a piece of the puzzle. Just like I said, if I see him on that, it's starting to get higher stem count, starting to get a little brushy, outside that bedding area, leading into it or getting into it. I see that kind of sign, I'm getting pretty excited. When I see that kind of stuff. You kind of know where you need to be.
Yeah. And that's what I think I'm going to talk to Ethan because I want him during rifle. I want him to take go up that bench. So like instead of taking that road back to the cul-de-sac, cut him off. So like stop there and go straight up the steep incline to this bench and just wait. Because I think with all the hunting pressure, I think it's a good chance that he just dumps down right over top there.
Down there and gets shot at him.
Yeah. Or a doe, whichever one.
Yeah.
I'm not picky this time of year, and I'm sure he's not either. That was all the questions we got. So that was I think those are some really good solid questions. There was another one in there that was like the average amount of deer you saw, but we already covered that with it was like
it wasn't very much. Yeah, I said people think it like kill a couple of big bucks, you see like 10, 15 deer day. Like I've had double-digit days in the mountains.
Yep.
It happens, but on average, I don't see a whole lot of deer. And this year was like,
yeah.
I'd have to add them up, and it might come out to like 0.8 deer a day or something like that. It's like, mentally, like I've been doing this a long time. I'm telling you, man, I was, alarm went off at 3:30 in the morning, and the time changed, and like, man, you got a 16-hour day. Time to get up, time to get home. It's like, holy shit.
It was kind of crazy because like when I went up for the first day of Ruck Camp, I got up there at like 10 o'clock at night, didn't go to sleep till like
Yeah.
10:30 because I'm unpacking all that kind of stuff. And then I was the first one up from everyone. I was like up at 3 o'clock, 3
Yeah.
a.m. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was ready to go. I think I barely even slept. I don't even know if I
Oh,
slept
it's
at all.
horrible. Like I said, I'm getting up at 3:30. Like I said, then you don't get home till I don't get home till about 6:30.
Yep.
So yeah, like I said, whatever it is, 15 hours, 14. It's like, man, that's a long ass day. Then
Yep.
I come home, spend a little time with the family. Then it's like, man, I'm beat. You know, as soon as you hit your head hits the pillow, that damn alarm's going off. It's like Groundhog Day. And like I said, you go out there, you're not seeing shit. It's just like it. And I said, you know, when this airs will be gun season, but
Yep.
you know, it is mentally and physically exhausting
Yep.
when you got a slow rut. You're not seeing much deer. It can be tough. When you're seeing deer, it keeps you interested a little bit.
Yep.
Man, when you're not seeing no rut activity, it's the rut, and you're worst thing you're doing is scrolling through Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like I suck. You know?
That's when you have service, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rifle season, it changes a lot. Like, you'll get in the woods. If you get in there dark o'clock, you'll probably see everyone pushing deer to you if you're in the right spot, right? And then you'll be tug out in a matter of, I don't know, like half an hour. So
yeah.
So yeah, Moose, let them know where they can follow you at and all that kind of good stuff. Really appreciate you
Moose
coming on.
1720, Moose 1720 on Instagram. Try to keep active on my stories and stuff. So, and like I said, we're getting once this airs be gun season, then man, best time of year postseason. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, you already started posting the scouting.
Yeah, true. It's nice.
Yeah, it is. Well, really appreciate you coming on here again. Always enjoy talking to you, man.
Yeah, good luck, buddy.
Thank you, man.